Hey, what's up? All my true funk soldiers, club funketeers, all my funk from the front seat fans. I'm loving you guys. So check this out. On this week's show, in honor of the holidays and everybody doing their thing, we're going to show some of our greatest and some of our best moments. We're going to be running some shorts from Funk from the front seat. And we want everybody to, check these out during the week as you can over the weekend or whatever. And we'll be back live next week. So we want everybody to realize peace, love, and harmony, man. And sit back and enjoy these things that Mark and I have put together. We put a lot of time into it, man, just so you guys can enjoy this. We appreciate everybody's thing. And don't forget, please, please, please give us a thumbs up and smash that like button, man. We're trying to bring our numbers up this season and do what we can do. We're going into our 6th season, so that's pretty cool right there in itself. So we love you guys, and don't forget, man, Funk from the front seat, 9 on the Grind TV, each and every Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, smash that like. Peace.
How about getting our rich Uncle Sam to put good public schools all over so we can be train fit for any college? So I guess the question I have for you, Amazon, is how important do you think it is for artists to use their platform, whether it's music or fashion, to deal with these social issues?
It's imperative. You can't. So the thing with social media is that you know that everybody's watching. And I think that in some senses, people are afraid to say their point of view for certain things. Like you might have a job that, if they go on your social media and see some of your viewpoints, it can affect your work or whatever. Same thing with me. I was working in a courthouse, right? So I couldn't have done what I'm doing now if I was still doing that. I probably wouldn't have my job, right? But I believe it's imperative to use your platform to make a change, to do something good for someone else. And when I decided to make Punkdemic an LLC, that was my goal, was like, of course, obviously I want to make money for myself and my family, but I also want to have the funds and the resources to do stuff for others. You can't do things for other people if you don't have anything, right? But for me, the influencers and artists, I hate to say this out loud, but I don't care. If you're not on there and using your influence and your finances to help someone else, and not even that, to help someone else of color, I'm putting it out there as well. I can't rock with you. I can't be a fan of you. I'm not going to ask you to be on my podcast. I'm not going to interview you. Like, you have to be doing something else for others for me to be interested in you as a person, period. So yes, very important. It's
Yo, I got to tell you, man, a lot of times, people don't realize, you have friends and other people behind the scenes that help, keep motivating and keep sending you positive love, man. And that's why I always show these little bits for people because, it's important.
Hey, this is Keith Jackson with P Funk Radio, inviting you to check out my brother Zach Robinson with Funk from the Front Seat. Saturdays, 12 noon on the East Coast and 9 a.m. on the West Coast. It all happens on 9 on the Grind TV and also on YouTube. Great guest, great conversation each and every Saturday. That's Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Robinson on 9 on the Grind TV and YouTube.
Sometimes a lot of us can't help it because of different issues in life that we may go through, or just, you're going to go through it regardless or not. Every day to me is a test, for you to elevate and make a better version of yourself. If you're seeking to do that, you have some that's not willing to, or they're too broken to do so. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right, man. Hang tough for a minute because I'm going to bring you back on the other side, but I want to run your video again, bro, because I really like it.
But for me, my spirituality is so on point and on target, because I know when I'm down, if I can look up, then I can get up. So I keep myself close to God, and God can be many things to you. I don't care what spirituality you use, Buddhism, Jesus, Muhammad, I don't care. just connect yourself to something that makes you feel good on the inside, and so you can get up. And positive affirmations. I believe in talking to yourself because, and stop. I had to do this too. Don't tell people all the things that are going on with you or what you're going to do, because I had to learn once you open that door, then you give others opportunities to say things that are going to go against what you're trying to do. And it'll make you feel some kind of way, right? So we need to keep our personal thoughts of what our plans are to ourselves. Let them materialize, because people will try to, when they're not doing anything and they see you doing all these things, this is their job, because the devil ain't that red little person on the side right there.
Yeah.
So when you started doing this research and you did interviews, you had to travel, obviously.
Yep.
And I met Fred too for the first time in person last September.
Nice.
I went to a show in Charlotte. But you obviously you put a lot of legwork into it, and you had to maintain a balance between touring, your family, and writing the book. How many years did it actually take you? What, 3, 4? Or you started just long before the other book?
The first book took me 30 years. You know, it was like my whole life, you know, just collecting that information and you know, getting back to what you had said too about like leaving out all the other stuff. You know, when it comes to like recording this history, it's important that we understand that nobody else is going to do it. You know, like everybody could die and the time could pass and we won't have this stuff. So I'm trying to like record the cold hard facts. And I think the biggest correlation has to do with one special fact. And this is really the only thing, because the music isn't really the same. The scene isn't really the same. The big thing that connects them is that both of those bands were famous for playing a very long time and jamming out in this thing. The only difference is that Grateful Dead, it was really loose. And P-Funk only looks really loose.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
it's not.
You know,
it's not.
I always tell people there's this like sheen.
Say that again. Please say that again so my musician friends can hear it.
Yeah, so Grateful Dead, you know, they really were loose. They were like a loosey-goosey kind of jammy thing. P-Funk only appears to be loose. Like when you go to the P-Funk show, you are, even whether you're a layperson, a P-Funk fan, or a musician or anything, you're kind of cast aside by this sheen in the front of yay, hey, hey, you know, dancers, singers, people from the audience are coming up on stage, and jugglers and puppets and, you know, squirt guns and whatever, right?
Thank you for riding the funk front seat with us, because now, you know, we got so many passengers, you know, we just make room for another brother, and you and your family, like you know, y'all come through on us, man. So it's like we always here for you. You got anything new, or, you know, it just don't have to always be on a Saturday. You send me something and say, yo, I want you to check this out, or I want you to post this, or, you know, whatever it may be, you know, you part of the front seat now. So, you know, feel free, you know, to dial us up and dial in, man, and you know, tap into this thing. We're going to rerun this show. I'm going to see if I can play with it a little bit and see if I can edit some technical stuff, but I'm going to have Mark play with it too. But I think it could be because, like, a lot of times on cell phones and stuff, weird stuff be happening. I know that, you know. So maybe next time we could try a laugh or something on your end or something else. But, you know, for the most part, I got to say, there's been a unique experience meeting. You're the first guest we've had on from Arkansas.
He saw that I was a classical musician, which is exactly what Bernie is. And he saw that I had the feel, because he'd always say, it's the feel, Baba. It's the feel, you know, and you just have to have the beginning of that, you know, and just really, he was like, we're just going to develop that. You have the feel already. We just need to put that right on Front Street. You've got the technique, you know, and then he started just training me, you know, and it was hard. It was hard. It wasn't easy work studying under Bernie Worrell, even for someone who had been playing piano. You know, by the time I started working for Bernie, I was 22 when I first started mentoring under him. I was 22 years old, which means I'd been playing piano for 19 years by that point. So it wasn't anything new to me. I'd already really been very well trained, but he had really drilled into me. He had basically, every song has a part, the bridge, the main, the verse, whatever, chorus. And in every section, Bernie would have 4 to 6 variations that he would play that one section, right?
Right.
Then he would have 3 inversions for each of the chords. So you got like the 4 to 6 variations, but you can invert it 3 different ways. So you're looking at between 12 and 18 different ways to play each single part in every song. So he was making me learn like 12 to 18 different ways to play every part in every song.
My guest today, Daniel Brodosian, from P-Funk, is coming on, and he's going to talk about his new book, and as well as what he does with the Secret Army. He's one of the people that I admire in his business, and when it comes to the P-Funk, of course, all his accolades and how he manipulates the keyboards and all of this great writing and music and stuff like that. So we're going to bring him on in a minute. I see he just beamed in. I know he's really mad busy, so I really appreciate it. But again, Make My Funk the P-Funk, his brand new book is out. Danielle Bedrosian is in the house. Easy for me to say. So we're going to bring him on without further ado, because we want to get this funk on for you, and we appreciate this, brother.
I'd like to give a shout out to Curtis Wilcox, Victor Taylor, Lisa Love. Y'all, thank you. Y'all inspired me as well. Brother, you cold with the artwork, no doubt. No doubt about that. I like to give a shout out to my family here, my wife, my children. Most of all, the ancestors. Wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that trail that led me here. Always follow your dreams, and your plans to be successful, especially in the line of music. Don't have no doubt. Don't never give up. Don't give up at all. I don't care if it took you about 50 years or 40 years or 30 years to get it. When your time is your time, your time is your time.
Let's go back to Baltimore, where it all started for me as a young youth. It's such a long journey. They say life is short, but I can go way, way, way back and remember everything along the way. It's hard to even start because there's so much in the beginning, but I started with playing with local bands, and I always gravitated towards the major recording artists from the area. A group I was raised by, they were known as Frankie and the Spindles, Frankie and the Spinners at the time, and they had to change their name when the Spinners hit the scene, and they became the Spindles. These were my big brothers, and I always, wanted to be a part of that organization, a part of the group.
Very catchy.
Yeah. It actually, Mark and I tell you, Mark, wait, pop on, Mark, and just please, really quick, before we get into the serious topic of domestic violence, please let our guests know how and where I used to do the show from. You back there? There he is.
I am back here. Definitely, as I can say, you used to do the show literally from your car and everything like that. So it started off as a show from the car, and he'd be in his car as he was going around and all along those lines. And it was started during the pandemic as well. So it was literally funk from the front seat, because he would have all these great funky guests and all this great conversation. But it was started as he was driving around and all along those lines. Hence the name.
Wow.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. So that literally you were in the front seat.
Yeah, if you go back on YouTube and you look at our first season and a half, I was literally doing it from my car.
See, that's dedication.
Yeah, to get back to what you said, because obviously all the other great musicians in the band made the band, and all the P-Funk ladies as well, because we don't talk enough about them. And, I got a chance to hang out with Dawn and Belita, and really, absorb when I was like in my little orbit. And then that's why, hence Nappy and Funk Army. George and Bootsy told me start my own band. You know, we played
Nice.
at his birthday party, and he said, "Nah, man." He said, "I got enough drummers." He said, "Start your own band." You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
and you know, true to form, he was right, you know, about that, and I thank him to this day for that. So George, if you're watching, thank you, because I
Nice.
did start my own band, and we still funking. And
That's
you know,
awesome.
getting back to the book, and thank you for that, because I didn't want to leave certain things that I had notes, and if you see me looking, I'm not ignoring you.
You're
We're
good.
hanging out today with Danny Bedrosian because I got my B's and D's screwed up, but P Funk, All Star, the Secret Army, author.
It's definitely
Go!
yeah. So I was wondering if you could talk about the connection of funk to go-go and the connection of funk to blues. So that'll be my one question for you, because I'm a big blues head, as Zach knows. But yeah, definitely, I know go-go is a big thing in the DC, Baltimore area.
Right. Well, Baltimore didn't do much go-go, but the groove that we had in Baltimore was very similar, because I remember one time the guitarist for P-Funk jumped up and said, "This ain't no damn go-go band." He was telling me that while I was doing my little thing, right? And I'm like, who the F you think you talking to? You know, so there's very similar. Go-go is actually African. You know, the percussion is the force behind go-go, where all the other musics, you know, we had other kind of musics, you know, with the Motown and the Southern, what was it, Muscle Shoals, and you know, all those other places, man. But DC, I think Jill Scott did some go-go, and a couple other artists did some go-go, and it never really took off. But go-go is so spiritual, you know, it has its own life, you know, and I can deal with go-go for about a half hour, 40 minutes, and then I'm gone, you know.
One other thing that I would think that I would say that we need to keep too, if you have music, CDs, those are important too. I would not throw away CDs, any music, albums, anything that tells about our history through music. I would keep all those things, because they're going to be worth a lot of money.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
they
worth a whole lot of money. Hey, Zach, you think that they would be able to cope with a old-fashioned record player? Because I think on one of these shows,
Yeah,
I
but
mentioned the old.
My daughter's cooks. I taught my
Lunchbox.
daughters how to play a record.
But
gave them
vinyl
some
is
record
back
gift.
in. Vinyl, they sell record players now. Young people are buying record players, and young people are into vinyl a lot more now. I think it's a resurge in vinyl now. And so I don't play vinyl, but I'm not opposed to it.
Sometimes a lot of us can't help it because of different issues in life that we may go through, or just, you know, you're going to go through it regardless or not. You know, every day to me is a test, you know, for you to elevate and make a better version of yourself. You know, if you're seeking to do that, you have some that's not willing to, or they're too broken to do so. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, that's right, man. Hang tough for a minute, because I'm gonna bring you back on the other side, but I want to run your video again, bro, because I really like it.
So there are a lot of people are not paying or giving enough attention to our young people. So as a mother, how are you doing in terms of keeping your kids out of trouble, and what are you doing to make sure that they are going to be following in your footsteps? Because it sounds like you're a very active woman and you're doing a lot of very positive things, but you're also a mother. I don't know how many kids you've got, but you're definitely a mother. So I was just wondering, what are you doing to encourage the young people of the world?
I wish I could say that all of my children, I have 5 children, they're all adults at this point. My youngest just turned 21. I wish I could say that all of my children didn't get in trouble or didn't get caught up in things like drugs and so on, but that's not true. One of the things I'm learning as a parent is they don't always do what we want them to do. I'm learning that how your children turn out as adults is not necessarily a reflection of who you are as a parent.
That's right.
I have 2 children that I can't speak to because they're out there on the streets and they don't listen to a thing I have to say. So what I do is I speak to the young people that will listen.
Yeah.
When I started Punkdemic, it was the first one was like a skater, you know, and it was to reach out to the kids. And again, I'll get messages. Hey, this is going on. You know, what's your take on it as an older person? I'm now officially an older person. Um, but it's to talk to whoever will listen. You know, every young person isn't gonna respect you as an older person and take your advice, but there's a few that will. So
Yeah.
if you can drop some knowledge on some that will listen, then you talk.
Now, here's something that I realized, right? My doctor can't figure this out with me, but he said, you don't drink enough water. I said, doctor, I drink water when I'm thirsty.
That's
I
what
said,
you
I don't
should
have to be poor. I said, if the body, and I told him this, he couldn't fit, he had no answer. I said, the body is 98% water. I said, so why am I constantly putting so much water in it? I said, it
You're
doesn't need
flooding
that
your
much.
body. You'll be
Yes.
flooding your body.
Yes,
But
exactly.
you know what? All the water is in the fruits.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you just eat half a watermelon, you
Yes.
would need water for days.
Yeah, you can survive.
Because
That's
it's
right.
the real water. It's real, the real water, coconut water.
So what I did with this one, much like the first book, I needed to seek out a bunch of interviews. So I decided, primary source interviews, that's the way to go. Me interviewing them myself, getting, recording it and getting these quotes. And unlike the first book where, I just recorded the information they told me, because it wasn't really like for an interview. This information, you're getting it in their words, So I talked to a bunch of the people that I talked to for the first book, some of the same folks because they were involved in these 3 albums. The obvious ones, George Clinton, Mudbone Cooper, Michael Hampton. I got like some of the back stuff from Archie Ivy, who was George's manager for 50 years and still is. I talked to, band members from that period. But I also got a few of the guys that I wasn't able to get for the first book. So I got a really good set of interviews that I did personally with Fred Wesley. And that was huge for this book, And because for him, he experienced a massive paradigm shift in 1975. That's the only year that Fred Wesley plays for the JBs and then P-Funk in the same year, So a lot of all the stuff that goes on there, he gave up some really cool stories. And then I talked to folks like Reggie McBride, who's like a little lesser known, but he's super important in the P-Funk thing because he played bass.
Well, when we're talking about the industry, sign language is my background. I'm a graduate of Madonna University Deaf Studies program. And what I do is I infuse my sign language with everything that I do. I believe in inclusive education for all people. So that means the deaf with the capital D, the capital D deaf, the small D deaf. There's a difference. Hard of hearing, autistic, and anywhere in between. So I teach autistic children sign language. That's what I do. I do that. It's a passion of mine because I believe they should be able to express themselves. If they're nonverbal, they should be able to express themselves if something is wrong or their needs or just everyday signs, to communicate with their parents. So. And of course, I infuse it with my DJing and sign language. Yeah. I love DJing and using my sign language. I do it strictly for the betterment of the whole, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because even those who are novice signers, at least they're practicing, they're learning.
I was driving a taxi cab, and Big Benny called me and said, "Hey man, what you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm working." He said, "Hey, can you drive me down to Kensington, which is outside of DC, a suburb of DC?"
Yeah.
He said, "Would you drive me down to Kensington?" I said, "Hey, why not, man?" So I drove him down to the rehearsal. I go in and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm in a P-Funk rehearsal. Oh my God, I always wanted to be like George," because every band that I was in, I was George. I always felt like when there was somebody missing, I could fill the slot. I remember when we started a band. I think I was maybe 12, 13 years old, and we started rehearsing in my bedroom, and the drummer just couldn't find the funk, and I said, "Man, let me show you something." And I never played drums ever. He had a real drum set, you know what I'm saying? And here's my hand. I never played drums ever. but I always watched drummers. So I got on the drum kit, and the rest of the guys was looking at me like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Because I was, doing the damn thing. And it's been like that most of my life. I picked up instruments where somebody fell short,
That's
and
a gift.
yeah. So there's no if it's got keys on it, if it's got notes, if it's got a skin on it or whatever, you give me a couple days on it, I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it. I don't care. It could be a harp, it could be a kazoo, you know what I'm saying? It could be a tuba. I don't care what it is. You give me a couple days with that rascal, I'm gonna make it work.
And I ended up leaving the situation because I was pregnant with my first child. Honestly, I probably would have stuck around longer if I wasn't expecting. I think that the fact that I was expecting this beautiful child is what pushed me to get out of there. So I left and I ended up in a shelter in, I believe it was the Redondo Beach area. It was a hidden shelter. I wasn't allowed to call anyone. No one was allowed to know where I was located. It was very locked down, low key. And I was in a place with other women that were way worse shape than I was. But part of the program was to sit through counseling and hear other people's stories. So I heard some things that really opened my eyes and made me go, okay, I really can never go back to this situation. And they provided things like counseling. And so, I paid attention, but I was the only one in the place that was expecting, and it was very uncomfortable there for me. I think it was like a bunk bed. It just was uncomfortable physically for me. And that's how I ended up in the shelter, Casa de los Angelitos, which was a shelter here in Southern California for women that were expecting. And so I ended up there. During the Super Bowl, you can Google it, that there's more domestic violence cases pop up during the Super Bowl. And it's just anger, stress, aggression, and all of that stuff coming out. So yes, 100%. There was more suicides during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was because we were not able to get together and socialize. And that's how we function as human beings is by getting together and discussing what's going on with us. And it kind of cut us off, at the knees during that time.
Well, when we're talking about the industry, sign language is my background. I'm a graduate of Madonna University Deaf Studies program. And what I do is I infuse my sign language with everything that I do. I believe in inclusive education for all people. So that means the deaf with the capital D, the capital D, deaf. The small D, deaf, there's a difference. Hard of hearing, autistic, and anywhere in between. So I teach autistic children sign language. That's what I do. I do that. It's a passion of mine because I believe they should be able to express themselves. If they're nonverbal, they should be able to express themselves if something is wrong or their needs or just everyday signs, to communicate with their parents. So. And of course, I infuse it with my DJing and sign language. Yeah. I love DJing and using my sign language. I do it strictly for the betterment of the whole, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because even those who are novice signers, at least they're practicing, they're learning.
So I guess we'll talk about the shirt I'm wearing in the picture.
Yes.
And it's a hoodie I designed. It says domestic violence on the top. And underneath there's a tree trunk, kind of, and it shows the roots of the tree under the ground. And under the ground, I attach certain words to the roots like shame and fear and things like that, because when somebody thinks of domestic violence, they just think of some guy slapping some woman around the room, right? To put it bluntly. And there's so many other things that contribute to what is domestic violence. Domestic violence is not a gender thing, by the way. There are men that have been through domestic violence situations.
My name is Jeff Roberson from the gospel group called Jeff Roberson and New Life. And I'm coming to you from the town that we had to name it twice. It's so nice. New York. New York. And I'm bringing you some news about my brother from another mother, Brother Zach, who's bringing you his hot new show called Funk from the Front Seat. Listen, he's bringing you funk from the vault, from the past, from the present, and into the future. He's got that music that makes the hair on the back of your neck rise up. He's bringing you funk all the way down to your toes. This is that funk that makes you really want to groove. Stay tuned. Don't touch that dial as he brings you funk from the front seat. Listen, let's go!
What up, everybody? This is Kevin from the Kevin Harrington Experiment, and you're watching Funk from the Front Seat with my brother, Zach, Funky Number 9 Robinson. If you didn't know, now you...
Royal Funk fans, this is Lisa Love, a.k.a. Alpha Unk Omega, coming to you from Love's Temple here in Southern California, inviting you to 9 on the Grind, Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Robinson. This is what I want you to do for me. Tune in every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come join the meeting of minds. I guarantee soul's growth and high vibrations, not to mention the love.
Now, mind you, I had just lost my mom, maybe 3 months before she saw me become successful. But I know that, through heaven, she's seen me because she was a heavenly
that was
person.
Opening them doors for you, man. What's your mom's name?
Yes, that's just what that was, man. She
your
opened the door.
Name?
Doris Hill.
Oh, Doris. Okay, shout out Doris.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Thank you for that. But when she passed, I remember asking myself or asking God, I said, God, it's got to be more to it than this. It's got to be something that I'm supposed to be.
You know what? One of my first, Corey Glover was one of my first guests, and he was the most fun ever. Like you never know when you're approaching people, if they're going to be, superstars or people with you, right? And he was just a person. He wasn't too big or too important to talk to me. I actually knew someone that worked with him professionally in the music industry. And he went to him and said, hey, you ever heard of Funkdemic? And he said, actually, I have. And I said, what? And so I was able just to approach him and say, hey, would you mind coming on and having a chat with me? And he did. And it was the most fun. I mean, we cut up on that episode like nobody's business. Johnny Taylor is a robust woman fan. Like if she's a round woman, he in love with her. And so him and Corey actually went back and forth with that whole thing on there.
Some positive energy. I would like to say, love yourself. Love yourself in a healthy way. Prioritize yourself. Make room for yourself. All those things. Like I said earlier, just to reiterate, write down your goals. What do you want? How are you going to get there? I mean, if you don't know how you're going to get there, then how's it going to materialize? So you need to understand, in between, things would naturally take its course. But writing things down and seeing it again, reiterating, love yourself, be good to people.
We're going to do this, man, because you're right now at the pinnacle of the crack of this dawn of the new age of funk. And with you guiding us and you in that captain's seat, man, it's like you got a whole platoon of people behind you, bro. We got your back, like front, back, side, 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock. We got all that covered for you, bro. So we gonna take this thing and just follow you to how it's supposed to be, because we all know the truth.
To get off subject, not just a drop. When I created Funkdemic, I actually didn't have a home. Wow. In particular, I was going from couch to couch, living out of a suitcase, staying where I could at different people's houses. And I remember at one point I was feeling pretty down and pretty low. And then seeing the other people that were actually out there in the elements, in tents, having to go to the actual shelters and eat in the soup kitchens and things like that really, really touched me deeply at that time. Because I still appreciated that I had a couch, right?
Yeah.
What dawned on me is there's a really thin line between having a home and not having a home.
3 paychecks.
Some people are 1 paycheck away.
Yeah, right.
From that, right? So I think is besides the issue of them just being homeless, how do you prevent that one thin line between, if I don't get this check today, I'm not going to have a home?
You know, we have to say that to ourselves, so I can understand that there's a place and time for this phone. You know, and that's what they're not understanding. And before a child can even talk, parents throwing tablets in their face.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
They could be like 8 months old. The little 8-month-year-old know how to work the computer.
Yeah, exactly.
They know how to work the tablet better than the parent.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's by design, like you said. I have this thing where I call it Blackout Monday, where I'll answer my friends, but I try to just stay away from my phone.
Yes.
Blackout Monday.
Because again,
the mind has to reboot, you know.
Yes.
Because we all need our miniature computer. The Jetsons said it was going to happen, and here we are. So we carrying around our whole life in
the computer. But see, people, the gist of it is when these phones and other apparatuses, whatever you want to call it, when they're taken away from these youth, they go into psychosis.
Yeah, they can't function.
Yeah, they go into rage, like really, like almost want to kill you type of rage. But I would like to say the 2025 was the end of the completion.
Yes,
and what I mean by that, it was the end of like things that no longer serves you, things that you had to let go. You completed you came full circle. This coming into 2026 is a more of receiving.
Yes.
It is those who did their work, did the do, as I would like to say. It's the reaping time.
Right.
Because, you know, you had to close certain things down. You had to, let people go. It's like, I can tell you, last year, I shut down for 2 years. People did not hear from me. Yeah. Not family. And I didn't do it maliciously, but I needed a peace of mind. I needed to focus on myself and my direction without all the chaos, without interference. Yeah. And I had to shut.
So I came up with Punkdemic during the pandemic.
Oh,
actually.
Okay.
And I had lost my day job because I worked as a mediator for the court system here.
Right.
And that was one of the first things that got shut down because I worked with the public every day. And so I got sent home.
Right.
And so I got kind of antsy. I am into music. I'm into all different kinds of music, but I was involved in the punk scene at the time.
Right.
And, well, I still am. And we couldn't book any shows or anything because remember, they were closing down all the venues here in California.
Yeah.
And so I was just frustrated, and a lot of people were very anxious. And when they were upset, they would go to these shows and release that energy. Yeah. And that's how they got to be around their peers and so on. And so there was just this really negative, funky energy, funk in a bad way, not funk in a good way. Right. And I was like, man, this isn't a pandemic. This is a damn punkdemic. And I wrote it down.
Wow.
And it started from there. And the rest, as they say, is history.
And Lisa Love brought up a good point, because we can't forget the Betty Davises of the world, Chaka Khans of Paulette, the Brides of Funkenstein. We ain't forgetting them, sweetheart. You know, the Linda Shiners of the world, the Lisa Loves of the world. We got y'all out there, man. You know, we recognize our queens, and I know more and more queens need to be recognized when it comes to this funk stuff. You know, when I first was digging Betty Davis, you know, I was like, damn. You know, even LaBelle, when they came out with that album with you know, Olivia Coussé avec moi, but there was a song on there called What Can You Do For Me? And I didn't realize they had the Neville brothers backing them.
Right.
Yeah, right. So I was reading the credits one day and I was like, oh, no wonder that shit is so funky. You know, then they had the Meters as well working with them.
I jumped up on the drums and I started with the kick drum, boom, boom, boom. We were doing Make My Funk, the P.
Right.
man, the bass drum just sounded like an explosion. You know, it was like, oh, what the boom, boom, boom. And man, we went into it, and man, at the end of the night, they all came up to me and was like, yeah, you did your damn thing. So that got me in the group and got me on the tour. I did from 90.
This person, you know, as personable as I am, as kind as I am to others, I am a different person when I'm in an actual relationship with somebody. I'm talking about an intimate relationship with someone. I still battle with trust daily. I'm involved with a wonderful person right now. I'm very fortunate for that. Who's very patient with me. But I can go from being madly in love with you to I will never speak to you again and I will drive my car over you. And a lot of that comes from trauma, from how we acquire our defense mechanisms growing up. And it's unfortunate. People say that you can go through therapy and quote unquote get over abuse or domestic violence, but you never get over it. You carry it with you your whole life. And you just have to navigate through it, learn how to handle it, learn how to work through it. I don't believe that you just get healed from it and you're fixed. I think that you carry that forever and you have to navigate who you learn how to trust, who you let in, who you don't, and just who you want to be.
Royal Funk fans, this is Lisa Love, aka Alpha Unk Omega, coming to you from Love's Temple here in Southern California, inviting you to 9 on the Grind, Funk from the Front Seat with Zach Robinson. This is what I want you to do for me. Tune in every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come join the meeting of minds. I guarantee soul's growth and high vibrations, not to mention the love.
Today, we got a special show for you. I got one of the original OGs. The man sits on the Mount Rushmore of funk. I got one of the OGs that helped start and create the whole thing and keeps it perpetuating to this day. Today is rare because when we have people of this ilk and this magnitude on, we can't just do a one-off show. So this is part 1 of a 3-part series with none other than the amazing, fantastic, glad to call my big brother, my funketeer, Mr. Guy Now Child Curtis will be joining us. I see his ship has just docked and the loading ramp is coming down. So he's actually beaming himself down to us and will be here shortly. I see him on the runway, kind of like, oh, there he is over there. Okay, he's coming in. All right, so, you know, he's beaming himself in, got to get his particles together and everything. You know how that goes. Microbiologically speaking, when he starts to burn, and turn, his atoms will make your neutrons, causing a friction fire, causing you to say, hit me in the proton. So we're going to make sure that this brother is going to come and he's going to tell us all about the journey.
Music, to me, was played before it was written. It was like music written is like a science project or an interpretation of the vibration that we send off naturally, you know. So just let me be natural. I don't need to interpret nothing. So a lot of times I miss a lot of gigs because I don't feel that, you know, the note for note musician, that's one setting, that's one place for, you know, whoever does that. And I respect that. I respect the note for note guy, but when I'm playing a solo, I'm in my own zone. I'm going to play it my way because that's why I play upside down, inside out, and backwards, you know, because, you know, I'm left-handed. Every instrument I play, and I'm right-handed, but musically everything comes from my left, you know, that's real spacey, but, you know, I go a different way. It's like, okay, it's time to improvise. Improvisation means, you know, do you.
And one day this guy knocks on my door and goes, hey, I'm from this organization called the Pirate Punks, and we do backyard shows. And you have the coolest backyard ever. Could we do a show in your yard? And I said, sure.
Yeah.
So next thing I know, my yard is a whole venue. I'm a member. I've joined up, and I'm doing punk and metal shows in my backyard. And that went on for a while. We had a stage, we had a bar, we had merchandise. It was wild. So my kids would be inside, and I'd be doing music in the back.
Wow.
And so music kind of found me.
Yeah, for those who are listening, we just lost Terry Howland, who was the baddest funk bass player of all time. A great person, wonderful, and we sent him off. He did his last gig with us. What was that, about 4 months ago?
Yeah. What,
September,
Oh,
4 or 5 months
something
ago.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And never, he sat down and played his bass and never missed a note. I never had to look over at him to see what was going on. He just held his own, and then he just ascended, you know. But big ups to him, and big ups to his wife Marlene, who is still my doctor.
What brought you to Arkansas? What did you like about that area?
Well, what brought me to Arkansas really is to get a peace of mind, find out if I'm truly the bad person, that, you know, like they say, the black sheep of the family, you know what I'm saying? So I want to do things on my own, you know, and family here and everything, you know. And like I said, just to have a peace of mind, to see I can do everything by myself, which I have done pretty good.
And my audience, you guys, we appreciate you. Again, smash that like button. Funk from the Front Seat, Not on the Grind TV, every Saturday at 12 p.m. and on the West Coast, 9 a.m. And please be on the lookout for Amazon and all the beautiful things that she's doing. And you can find her, look at the bottom of the screen, and you can see her scroll there as far as her Facebook stuff and also her Instagram, so you can see that. And please, you know, support in your area anything that you can do, like Amazon just said, to try to make the world a better place.
What did you think about blues music? Because I guess Zach knows I'm a big fan of blues, and I know that it's got a definite connection to the funk as well. So I definitely wondering your thoughts around blues, particularly guitarists like Buddy Guy.
Oh, Buddy Guy, man! I just watched a short of Buddy Guy, and it was so funny. Blues. I'm basically a blues guitarist.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't play blues as in blues, you know, but my soloing techniques are blues based. And that's everything, where you can mix the major over the minor or the minor over the major. And it's like, you know, it's hard to express how I really feel about blues, but I'm like Jimi Hendrix, man. Jimi Hendrix was definitely a blues guy.
Yes.
You know, but he incorporated into the rock and made it another thing, you know, every guitar player on the planet bow down to the blues riff, right. You know, so yeah, blues is everything, you know, funk, blues. We created all the music.
Yes.
You know, even the classical. Come on now.
Yeah.
All music was created by Africans. I jumped up on the drums and I started with the kick drum, boom, boom, boom. We were doing Make My Funk, the P.
Right.
Man, the bass drum just sounded like an explosion. You know, it was like, oh, what the boom, boom, boom. And man, we went into it. And man, at the end of the night, they all came up to me and was like, yeah, you did your damn thing. So that got me in the group and got me on the tour. I did from 90.
And they still going in hard, you know. I'm like, you know, that's what I gravitate towards too. And any person that's young out there that's listening to rap, I'll call it rap. It's not hip hop. What I'm hearing, hip hop back in the day, to like Biz Markie and them was beatboxing. You get off the stage and they were like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't consistent of long bars, you know what I'm saying? Like anywhere from 16 to 32 bars.
Tell us a little bit about Atomic Dog and how it influenced you in certain areas of the music production and writing.
Well, during the 80s, when that came out, that was one of my most favorite records, you know what I'm saying, along with the album. And I wanted to reach back to that time frame by creating Hot Diggity Dog. And it had very heavy influences, you know, when I made that. I just went into a zone. I mean, I said, well, that type of funk, that was all right, especially for the 80s, going to a whole nother new age from the 70s or from like late 60s. So it really inspired me to do that, and hit the synthesizers the way I hit it. What was funny about me making the track, my dog, when you heard say I'm bouncing off the firmament and you heard it, my dog had whined like I was about to crack the firmament. So it was like all the creativity in it. I was like, you go ahead now, you on the record. Like a lot of the music that's out here, like mumble rap and they saying all the same thing, they flashing all their money, skinny jeans on, got your boxes showing and stuff like that, and you can tell that's a very low frequency about itself. And because those songs that they have, it ain't gonna be years from now people really gonna be listening to them, because we're going into an era of healing. And
you know what I hate? I hate when I pull up next to somebody or whatever, and they got their little kids in the back of the car, and they just destroying, melting their brain.
Right.
I mean, literally, with the lyrical content and the vibrational mumble jumble and the frequencies, they got us destroying ourselves from within. We hanging out today with my brother King Nubius. This is the first of many, many, many interviews this brother going to be on with us. So y'all smash that like button. Please follow this brother. You can follow his information, King of Nubius, on Facebook and IG. We're going to be debuting, or on this show anyway, playing one of his hot new tracks, Hot Diggity, which I was listening to earlier, when I was getting dressed, and I was like, oh, so we here today. That's why, see, what I do is with my artists, I listen to their songs, and then I dress accordingly. So I went Chi-Town, old school Devin Hester, since they ain't allowed no more kickoffs, So that's where it put me at. It put me right there in my Chi-Town mode. So, bro, that track is hot. And when y'all hear this track, I'm telling you, you're going to put on and lace up your boots, because it's in the mud. It's that nasty sick. And I'm telling you, bro, it's in the mud. We hanging out, and we want everybody to know this show is about peace, love, and harmony. And we're going to get into a lot of different subjects, as we always do, but we support each other. And that's one of the most important things we can do in the world today, especially with the times that they are. Let me ask you, what do you think your assignment, now that we're in these tumultuous times, what do you feel is part of your assignment with the music that you're putting out?
Music industry, but basically has fallen because everybody's going independent, which is a great thing. I'd rather for that to happen anyway, because so many people got shorted out for the greatest music they ever made on earth.
That's right. And that's a very...
He saw that I was a classical musician, which is exactly what Bernie is. And he saw that I had the feel, because he'd always say, it's the feel, Baba. It's the feel, and you just have to have the beginning of that, and just really, he was like, we're just going to develop that. You have the feel already. We just need to put that right on Front Street. You've got the technique, and then he started just training me, and it was hard. It was hard. It wasn't easy work studying under Bernie Worrell, even for someone who had been playing piano. By the time I started working for Bernie, in the back of the book, in the appendix, I include a band bio section. So it's got all 50 of the people who were involved in those 3 albums. And it was interesting. I did a count last night. About 25 of them are still with us, and about 25 of them are deceased now. So that's pretty wild that we've got half, So I'm glad I wrote this book when I did, because 1975 ain't getting any closer to us. You know what I mean? So it's important that we did that. But a good portion of the people involved in these albums were not regular full-time Parliament Funkadelic live touring band members. So there are a bunch of people that were really important, some less known than others. When you get to something like Chocolate City, you have some tracks that were recorded much earlier.
In one lane. You ain't doing that.
It's exactly what it says. I step out my comfort zone. I don't do what the normal DJs do. You know, I don't try to be like everyone else.
Right.
No one taught me how to DJ. They taught me just highs, mids, lows, the basic things of what my controller does. I had to come home and I had to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So I never wanted to do and be like everybody else. And so, you know, I do multiple things. I'm very creative. So that's what they mean by don't stay in a lane. I can go from R&B to pop to house to techno. You know, there's no need to stay in one genre when we have the internet, the wide world internet. I mean, it's just like, it's so many people. Somebody's going to like you, right? Somebody's going to like you.
Yeah.
They'll find you. They'll figure out what they like about you. And that's what you cater to.
Getting these quotes, and unlike the first book where, you know, I just recorded the information they told me, you know, because it wasn't really like for an interview. This information, you're getting it in their words, you know. So I talked to a bunch of the people that I talked to for the first book, some of the same folks, because they were involved in these 3 albums. You know, the obvious ones: George Clinton, Mudbone Cooper, Michael Hampton. I got like some of the back stuff from Archie Ivy, who was George's manager for 50 years and still is. I talked to, you know, band members from that period, but I also got a few of the guys that I wasn't able to get for the first book. So I got a really good set of interviews that I did personally with Fred Wesley. Has been sort of a mystery for a long time, and I don't want to give it all away, but I want people to get the book because a huge historical discovery, I think, has been uncovered with this book. And so if you get it, you guys can find out some inside stuff on some of the people. But yeah, there's a lot of really interesting people. There was like a whole crew of young ladies from Chicago that were real close friends and girlfriends of some of the band members. And some of them were actually really instrumental in some of the like co-writing on certain songs, and they even pop up as characters in songs. So like there's this Jan McLaughlin who co-wrote Handcuffs. And I think,
yeah, I always thought that was John, but you're right, it's Jan.
I did too. I thought it was John too, because you know the guitar player John McLaughlin. I was like, oh, he must be something to do with the album. It's the same time, you know.
Yes.
But it's this girl Jan McLaughlin.
Wow.
And she wrote the line, "Do I have to put my handcuffs on you?" or something like that. And they used that, so they gave her a writer's credit. But what's really funny is she is the same girl as the "Tell the manager there's a girl named Jan." Jan from No Head, No Backstage Pass.
Right.
That's the Jan McLaughlin that co-wrote Handcuffs.
Wow, that's
so
deep.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff like that kind of got uncovered that was like semi-unknown. You know
what I always wanted to know? Like, if you look on the back of the Chocolate City album, and I know you know this, it says Glenn Gowan.
Yeah.
Is that a misprint, or he did that on purpose? So, diet and health. I really, want our people, whoever they may be, in our spiritual realm to understand, be mindful of what they're trying to poison you with, because they're trying to poison your mind, but also the diet of our what they're offering now is worse and worse and worse. So just keep your vitamins in you, keep all the things to knock out the parasitical, injury, things that you have inside of you, because that's what can also, deter your mind from thinking correctly. Your thoughts on that?
You hit it on. I mean, you hit it so hard on the nail. I'm gonna piggyback off of what you just said about the darkness. And light and dark are both essentially important. They both work hand in hand. And I say that, how would you know light if you have not gone through darkness? When the heart is aching and it's either you're gonna swim or sink, right? So through the dark times is when you're able to see the light and to really absorb it and take it in and become and transform yourself into a new being. That means leaving out the old. The dark is always there because we need light and dark to live on this earth. We need a balance.
Against the wall, we'll be together until the jam is done. a little story about United We Stand. It says we're gonna funk across this funkless land. We gon' stand up and let our voices be heard. We ain't gonna let nobody stop us from spreading the spiritual word. The ruthless corporate greedy don't give a damn about the needy. We need everybody in the house to join us on this one, all right? Y'all say, united we stand, divided we fall.
But do you think that verbal abuse categorized in that category as that domestic violence thing?
100%. Which I didn't know until I got into therapy and counseling and things like that. They don't have to physically touch you to hurt you. You don't have to physically touch someone to demean them. You don't have to physically touch them to control them.
Right.
So
right.
yes, violence is not necessarily just physical.
And when I got back on the kit, he put his hand on my head. I will never forget this. It was like he gave me his blessing.
Yeah.
Like he ordained. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
He put his hand on my head, and then he let go and walked away. And he said, "You're gonna get it." You know, this was my first week out with them. He said, "You're gonna get it." And so we get to, I think we were in Germany, and he was playing with the Brecker Brothers, and they opened up for P-Funk. And Dennis came up on the stage and looked at me, said, "Boy, you finally got it." You know, that was so rewarding to me.
So, you know, the first thing that came to their mind was the mothership. You know, Danny, how about a mothership book? You know, so I said, okay, a mothership book, huh? So that was their offer, and I said, you know, I had to think fast because I was kind of like, you know, I wasn't all the way into that idea because, you know, I know our fan base, and I know that, you know, every single person, Zach, has a different experience with the mothership, what it means, what their first time was when they first saw the landing, maybe in 76 or 77, or maybe it was 96 or 97. And they have these very specific ideas about what the mothership means. I said, you know, I'm a musician. I went to school for history. I think it takes a philosopher to write a book like that. You know, because everybody has these real transcendent ideas about what the mothership is, and
True that.
you know. So I said, how about a 1975 book instead? And they said, okay, well, what does that look like? What does that mean? I said, well, you know, Mothership Connection comes out at the end of 1975, but that's only a third of the story. You know, you've got Chocolate City in April, changes the whole game. You got Let's Take It to the Stage also in April, changes the whole game again.
Yeah.
And you know, they really set the stage for what happens in Mothership. And I said, and more importantly than that, 1975 is the only year where this band starts out in station wagons and ends up with platinum. And then I got like all the charting information, because one person had said to me, "Oh, I wish you included all the charting information in the first book." And the reason I didn't, I talked about in the introduction, I said, it's just space, you know, like this thing would have been 1 million pages. The first book would have been 1 million pages if I included everything that I wanted to include. But on this one, in between there's a chapter about the first 20 years before 75, and then there's another chapter about the 50 years after 75. Between those two chapters and the 3 album chapters, you get all the charting information from Billboard. What number the albums made it on, pop, R&B, UK, dance charts, and on, and the songs themselves. So you get to see exactly what charted where, because people had asked me, they wanted that, you know. So I did that. I did some crazy research into the samples on those 3 albums, how many, you know, and so there's a whole chapter in the appendix about the samples on those 3 albums, like what songs sampled those songs on those 3 albums. So, and that was a huge research project.
Because they are the most sampled.
Oh my God. Yeah. And like songs like Get Off Your Ass and Jam, or like, Mothership Connection. I mean, these songs have been sampled so many times.
Yeah.
So it was cool being able to put that together because that's something that the fans had specifically asked for.
So I know that it's deeper than just the economics of it. There's a lot of issues like mental health, drug addiction, all of those things that happen a lot too, as you see those people out there. But I think the main thing is to change how people view the homeless, or they say the houseless. Just their view, period. Those are not people that are beneath you, that are peasants and things like that. A lot of them are veterans that served in our military. A lot of them have children, and life just turned on them to some degree, or the system failed them at some place at some point, and they ended up there. If I hadn't found the shelter that I stayed in, right, where was I going to go at that point, right? I could have been one of those people easily. So I think it's a mindset of how you view those people, period, needs to change.
Yeah.
It needs to change. You know, a lot of places it's illegal to go out and feed the homeless. You can get in trouble for doing
I know,
that.
that's crazy.
That's totally crazy and everything.
Why is that? Why is that? They don't deserve food. They're beneath us to some point, or what is that about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So,
crazy.
isn't it something?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is how you view them.
So when you started doing this research and you did interviews, you had to travel, obviously.
Yep.
And I met Fred too for the first time in person last September.
Nice.
I went to a show in Charlotte. But you obviously you put a lot of legwork into it, and you had to maintain a balance between touring, your family, and writing the book. How many years did it actually take you? What, 3, 4? Or you started just long before the other book?
The first book took me 30 years. You know, it was like my whole life, you know, just collecting that information and you know, getting back to what you had said too about like leaving out all the other stuff. You know, when it comes to like recording this history, it's important that we understand that nobody else is going to do it. You know, like everybody could die and the time could pass and we won't have this stuff. So I'm trying to like record the cold hard facts.
Hey, what's up? All my true funk soldiers, club funketeers around the world. This is your host of Funk from the Front Seat, number 9 right here, come to you from the funk universe that I live in. Check this out, man. Smash that like button for Funk from the Front Seat, and please subscribe. We're on every Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. West Coast time. Don't forget, man, Funk from the Front Seat, 9 on the Grind TV. Smash that like button and please subscribe, man. We need it all to come together. Peace, love, and harmony, y'all.
Against the wall, we'll be together until the jam is done. I'ma say that again for you. United we stand, divided we fall. Should our backs ever be against the wall, we'll be together until the jam is done. Here we go, y'all. Now let me tell you a little story about United We Stand. It says we're gonna funk across this funkless land. We gon' stand up and let our voices be heard. We ain't gonna let nobody stop us from spreading the spiritual word. The ruthless corporate greedy don't give a damn about the needies. We need everybody in the house to join us on this one, all right? Y'all say, united we stand, divided